Welcome to the Rugby League Outsiders Set of 6, our weekly news show where we share the good, the great and the noteworthy of Rugby League outside the heartland.
And on this week's show, we'll be diving into all things USA Rugby League as we'll be tackling a partnership with the Sydney City Roosters. We'll be putting Vegas to bed and it's Challenge Cup weekend.
Right, Carl, here we go. You've picked out 6 interesting news stories for us to tackle this week. We're finally going to put, well, I don't say finally, because I don't mean it as like it's a bad thing, but we're going to do our last little snippet on Vegas. Like you said, talk about USA, University, Challenge Cup, talk about round 1 of NRL, and then we're going to talk about the Salford crisis at the end. Okay, so stick with us all the way. We've also got a little giveaway coming up, so you're going to want to watch that to get your hands on some goodies. And before we go any further, if you get any value at all from this show, please like, comment, subscribe. It really helps us know that what we're producing is the stuff you want to hear, and obviously helps the channel grow. So Carl, kick us off then. Story number 1, you've got your shirt on there, right, okay, Vegas. Boil it down into like a small phrase. Was it a success or was it not?
Vegas was a success. I mean, this is a worldwide show this week, isn't it? We've got stories from literally all corners of the globe. Yeah, Vegas, in my eyes, Vegas was a success, although I was very much living Vegas. But I think that it's going to have a lasting impact on the sport around the world, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, so I suppose it boils the question like, what's your metric? How are you measuring it as, you know, if it's a success or not? If we look at like attendance, so last year, attendance was a reported 40,746 people, right? So it was just featured the NRL and it just said, now this year reported attendance was 45,209. That's an increase of about 4,500 people. Now you're saying that it seemed like more on the street.
It did, because Vegas was pretty much, I said to you before on the live show, Vegas was a rugby league takeover. You couldn't walk 2 minutes without seeing a Wigan shirt, a Penrith shirt, a Lee Leopard shirt. Every team under the sun, Vegas was just taken over. You couldn't go into Las Vegas and not see a rugby shirt. And if you was a neutral or didn't even know what rugby league was at that point, rugby league was slapping you in the face big time.
Right, well, so they say that a picture paints 1,000 words, and we know that video paints 1,000 pictures, so we're going to have a little bit of a video of your time out there, okay? So some bits that people perhaps wouldn't have seen, and we've got a little bit of a giveaway, Carl, haven't we?
Yeah, so, this video is like, you know when you watch The Hangover, and at the end they go, oh, what happened last night? That's what this video is pretty much. There is going to be a little bit of a giveaway, so watch this video, and What are we giving away? So
we're going to give away some RFL sunglasses. The sun is out. You know, it's been out for the last couple of days. We've got some RFL sunglasses that we've just ended up with somehow. Less said on that, the better. Anyway, so the first 10 people to get this right, to get the answers right, we're going to send them a set of sunglasses. If you get in touch and give us your address. We've had it in the past where people expect us to send them something without giving them their address. Yeah. So you have to get in touch, right? And we'll announce it next week's show.
So the question is, how many physical mascots of rugby league teams feature in this video?
Right, Carl, obviously, the final clip there is the one that stands out for me, where you tried to drink your drink through your nostrils because you were that just absolute pissed. But, I mean, it looked incredible. That Fremont Street, with the projections on the ceiling, the actual buzz, it just looked incredible.
Yeah, watching, like, the live shows, the Matty Johns show was recorded there, the Fox TV crew was there. It was just all the fans from all over the world, Americans, Aussies, Kiwis, the English fans made the most noise, by the way, all weekend. And I think that's probably one of the reasons we've been invited back.
So apart from a little incident in the media box, did you see any bother? Were there any bother out there?
There wasn't any bother whatsoever. And all fans from all, like I say, all fans from all over the world were all mixing with each other. And actually, that was the best bit about it. The rugby on the field was great. The stadium was incredible. But the best part of the weekend was literally just meeting people from all over the world, because we were all in it for the same reason. We just want to see rugby league grow, and that was the real positive of the weekend.
So we mentioned the attendances earlier on. Now, you've got a little bit of an insider source suggesting that last year's figures were a little bit inflated.
Yeah, I've heard from a couple of journalists that although they announced it as 40,000 the previous year, actually there was only 30-odd thousand there. I think they inflated the numbers a little bit to make it sound a little bit better. So if you're looking at the attendance, there could have been sort of 10, 12,000 more this year than there was last year. So on the attendance front, yeah, real positive. It's the other things that I think Vegas has done really well. So it's been a massive shot in the arm for Super League, don't you think? I mean, I think Sky Sports, it was their highest viewed rugby league figures for the year, and when the RFL are going in to negotiate a new TV deal, that's massive, isn't it? Just having Vegas is huge for the sport, and I mentioned it before, like sponsorship. We're always trying to get sponsorships out within the sport, and if you're showcasing something like this in Vegas, it's only a good thing for the sport.
So you mentioned that you couldn't go anywhere without bumping into someone with a rugby league shirt on. Is there room for growth out there? If we have another 1,500, 2,000, 5,000 Brits that want to head out because Super League's involved in Vegas again, is there space for that?
Yeah, there's still I mean, the stadium itself holds another 10, 12,000, doesn't it? So yeah, there's certainly room for it to continue growing, but at the same time, you can't be ashamed of what happened there. It was incredible. Yeah, I suppose we'll get on to talking about the lasting effect on rugby league as a whole in USA. We'll talk a bit more about that on Tackle 2, though. Okay,
right. Let's finally wrap it up then. Let's say that people are thinking, do you know what? I fancy that next year. I want to go next year and experience that. Give me your argument that to get people off the fence and to get people over there enjoying the rugby.
It feels like this is my quote I keep saying. It feels like the Super Bowl of rugby league. Super Bowl was held at that stadium, and it felt every bit as big for a rugby league fan. And I'll tell you another thing: the Aussies. I spoke to some Aussies while they were out there. This is a big boost for it. They said it was pretty much like State of Origin. It felt like State of Origin. You can't get any bigger than that, can you, in rugby league terms?
No, I mean, as Brits, you sort of look at State of Origin and you want something like that in this country, and maybe Vegas does that.
Yeah, it's the pinnacle of the game. And I suppose the other positives coming out of this, the Aussies were so impressed with what the Brits brought to the table. I know the NRL are potentially looking at purchasing Super League out there now. That's massive, and I was on the fence before. I'm not now. I'm like, just let them have it. Let them have it.
Right, okay. Right, sticking with Australia and the USA, some people think that Vegas was just a flash in the pan. It was a bit of a party, for the NRL. But you've uncovered a bit more depth to this enterprise.
Yeah, so we're on to Tackle 2 then. USA Rugby League. How is it developing? I got stuck into USA Rugby League at the Vegas Nines. The USA and Greek sides were competing at that event, and I kind of just wanted to get a bit of a feeling. It's like, how is rugby league in the US? Is it growing? Is it stagnating? What's the Vegas experiment done for USA Rugby League? I was pleased to say that there is a lot going on, and although I don't think the NRL essentially are promoting the sport, I've uncovered a link with Sydney City Roosters, and they've got their fingerprints all over rugby league in USA.
Hey, with Matt Goshney, chairman of USA Rugby League. Look, this is surely a good thing for USA Rugby League.
Yeah, definitely. From an awareness piece, I think as well too is the key. And events like this bring everyone together. So I think everyone in the game benefits, and hopefully this competitions and more things like this can happen in the States, and the game can continue to grow.
And how is the game going in the States? I mean, how many teams have you got? Where are they geographically located?
Yeah. So we've got activity out in Utah. So there'll be a youth team that will be touring New Zealand in June, July this year.
Right.
And then we've also got a heritage side. So the Roots, which played today, they're going to do a tour at Ghana as well. So that will be good. And then from a geographical point of view, we've got a West Coast sort of conference being in California. We've got activity in Florida in the south there. And then we've also got teams in the northeast, from Brooklyn, Delaware, DC, Boston.
Yeah.
So our goal is to keep growing those particular regions as well too, and hopefully get a bit of activity in the middle as well too. So there's been a bit of interest from women's teams as well too to join in that middle corridor. So from a team perspective, we're currently sitting around about 16 across the country, but it's growing and picking up. So really with that, it's, I think as the awareness piece comes out there more and people know that rugby league's in America, we'll just see it grow.
Me with John Strange of the LA Roosters. John, you're with the women's side. Just talk to me a little bit about how rugby league sort of progressing. I know you're here to help out.
Yeah.
How the girls progressing?
Yeah, going really well. It's a bit of a combination of players. We've brought some players from Australia, mixed with the local Los Angeles players. Emiliano Nash is the head coach of both the male and female LA Roosters sides, and I've come over for the Vegas Nines to assist in the coaching.
Is there any link with the Sydney City Roosters? Or?
Yeah. So I coach the Sydney Roosters NRLW team. We've got that partnership. And we have only been 12 months so far with that partnership, and we're going to hopefully grow it. And we want to help develop rugby league in LA. And if we can do that, with the experience I guess we've got back in Australia, it's only going to benefit the local players.
No, sounds great. Does that sort of thing happen quite often with the NRL sides? Are a lot of them linking up with US-based sides?
No, not really. Yeah, we're sort of the first to do it. Yeah, so we're hoping that other NRL sides follow the lead, and there's so many talented athletes in America. We just like to give them the opportunity to experience the game, and hopefully they fall in love with it, and then we can convert some players from other sports into rugby league.
So we've got a great partnership with the Sydney Roosters at the moment on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And what we're experiencing with that is that athletes inside of America, it's real challenging for them to see that pathway, even through the other sports. It's quite limited. So what we're trying to do is really open up the pathways and opportunities for players to, progress into an academy system, go through our Hawks program as well too. And then, hopefully along the way, there's some opportunities for them to, whether it be playing in the Super League, NRL and things like that. So there's a lot of different partnerships we're working on as well too, but a lot of hard work and it's a long road ahead. We're also currently bidding and in the process for the 2030 World Cup as well too. So that'll be the first time, if we get it, the US is hosted. So
yeah, that'd be massive. So what's on the immediate horizon for USA Rugby League? Is there any internationals? I know we've got some going on today, but after that, is there any internationals lined up or anything like that?
Yeah, so what we're looking at doing, and one of the things the new board when they came in was looking at, from the number of games players are playing, and also for a national program, how do we develop that and how do we grow it? And what we identified with how our season's positioned is there's 3 windows really for us. It's kind of in around this time here, with the great event they're putting on. It gives us good exposure as well too. and the opportunity to be a part of it. We actually had one of the players jump in with the Sharks on Tuesday and complete a training session. So they're all good positive things that come off the back of it. The next window we look at is kind of towards the end of our season and around that September timeframe, and then just before sort of Christmas in that December. So they're the three windows we're trying to work towards. We're trying to finalise our calendar up to 2027 at the moment. So there's a lot of proactive activity happening in the background, but it just takes time. And I think people can see that there's this shift and change in rugby league here as well too. And I think people just want to play. The Roosters have been fantastic for us as a partner.
Yeah.
Here we've had Nick Politis has been down both days of the Nines, and I'm talking like all day. There's 4 Roosters board members that have been floating around supporting the LA Roosters side of things as well too. They've been great with hosting the Greece side as well too. They're LA Roosters for a training session coming through, so that collaboration's great. And then there was also a clinic that the LA players put on in Watts in California. So that's got the highest population of, I think, like from a density point of view, like from a crime rate as well too. It's one of those things, but it's a positive, and kids in those areas being able to get the opportunity and be exposed to the game. Seeing 30 odd kids running around with LA Roosters hats on and having the time of their life. So we're actually looking to try and expand that partnership, beyond that one-off event. So we're in talks with them at the moment to try and do that as well. So it's really about trying to get this whole community atmosphere and culture as well too. And I think if people can see that there's a pathway and you're building things within the community, and people are playing footy, look, it fixes problems. If everyone's playing, it fixes a lot of the problems.
I mean, it feels, watching that video, it feels like, Oz has kind of embedded themselves, a couple of key personalities in there to help the sport grow. Do you think they've obviously identified the US as a huge avenue for growth of the game?
Well, I would have thought so. So I was talking to some of the coaches, and in American sports, you go to college, and then you get a scholarship, don't you? And you potentially end up making it professional, right? 0.8% of women become professional athletes who join onto these scholarships, and only 3% of men do. And in American sports, if you don't make the top tier of professional sport, there isn't much underneath it, as in terms of amateur and community game. Like we do, we have Sunday League football, and you can play rugby, can't you? Pretty much any age, all the way up to masters. That doesn't exist as much in American sports. And I think the Australians have identified that they can get people playing rugby league who may not have made the top tier of NFL or Sevens, rugby union, or whatever professional sport. So I think they see it as a key area to really grow the sport. And the Sydney City Roosters are fully embedded into USA Rugby League. So I'll give you like a couple of bits of information. So they've set up they've basically become a development partner for USA International Rugby League. They set up a West Coast Rugby League Academy. So they're going to do 3 or 4 camps every year where the coaches from the Roosters go over to the US. They identify the players. They're also embedding Australian players into the USA sides to help them develop so that they develop quicker. And the Roosters have got a partnership with they've become the LA Roosters as well now. So they're like really helping to fund that team.
Carl, what have you seen out there, or what do you know that now's the right time for this? Is there like societal things going on where you sort of think, the USA is ready for rugby league?
Well, I think USA Sevens rugby union has taken off. And if it can take off in rugby union, it can surely take off in rugby league. So speaking to a lot of Americans that have started playing rugby league, that was their first route into rugby, Sevens rugby union. And once they discover rugby league, they found actually it's more aligned to like NFL and things like that. And a lot of them said that to me. So once they get playing it, they're hooked and they're fully involved, and they don't stray back to rugby union. I've spoke to a few guys and they're like, no, once I discovered rugby league, that was it. I was like completely hooked. And just going back to the Roosters as well, they've set up like a development fund. So you've got like 4 main divisions in the States, like Florida, Utah, there's Pacific Coast. I think there's another one I've missed off there. But the community clubs can all tap into this funding that the Sydney City Roosters have made available. So it's only going to strengthen the sport. So a lot of people have criticised the Vegas event and sort of said it was just a turn up for everyone go on their holidays, have a big piss up, but there's no lasting effect for USA Rugby League. I disagree, actually. I do disagree. I think there's a lot happening. I think the Aussies are putting a lot of work in, not just USA Rugby League, international rugby league in general as well. I spoke to the Greek side, and they've got the fingerprints all over that. They're really helping to develop Greek rugby league by using Greek heritage players in Australia to help strengthen the local Greek sport. So I left feeling good and feeling like the sport's in a decent place.
So the sport means nothing without sort of spectators and people watching. Now, these were obviously fringe activities that you went to whilst you're out in Vegas. How many other people that had gone out to watch the 4 big games turned up for like the nines and those other little fringe activities?
That's the area it needs more improvement, and that's where it needed more advertisement. So I knew it was happening, but I probably...
You sought it out?
Yeah, I saw it out. I investigated. I wanted to find out what else was going on. The average Brit on the street or Australian on the street, I don't think really knew that this event was happening. There were certainly fans turn up to watch it, but it wasn't advertised very well. So I think next year that's what the NRL needs to do better. Advertise the Vegas nice, because it's an event that just keeps growing. So it's grown from year 1. Year 2 was better. Let's make it even bigger in year 3.
I'm wondering if they could do like a deal where, with their ticket for the main stadium, they also get access to the nines and make it like just advertise a little bit like that, or whether...
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it was a free event anyway, so it just needs promoting. Just promote it a little bit more. Let everybody know that the US side was competing that weekend. It's all positive. The combine also took place on the same event, so they'd identified a load of US athletes playing college sports. They're putting through a load of tests, and I think one of them has been selected now to train with one of the NRL sides. I think he's won a contract.
Amazing. Right, okay, so you mentioned sort of college football, college sport. Obviously, our comparable level is university, and we're going to move into some university updates now.
Yeah, so the University Championship semi-finals took place last week. So the results are as follows: Northumbria 24, Loughborough 16. So Northumbria progressed, and Leeds Beckett 72, Leeds 6. So massive scoreline in the semi-final of that one.
And that lines us up for the final. So we've got the national trophy.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about that in a minute, and then we've also got the national championships as well.
Yeah, so the finals as follows. So the national trophy takes place this week, Wednesday the 12th, and that's between Liverpool John Moores and Hull University. And then the national championship takes place the week after, and that's between Leeds Beckett and Northumbria. Yeah,
and a great standard. I mean, we followed University Rugby League last year in a lot more depth, and some of the same players here getting to the final. But it was a really high standard, really physical, and when you look at the pitch, it's like, I don't know, it's just like watching high level academy rugby.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, and I think that the thing with University Rugby League is that obviously you're getting players come from all over the country, aren't they, mixing, so you're not necessarily just playing with your mates from Bradford or your mates from Leeds or whatever. You'll get Londoners mixing with Geordies, mixing with people from Yorkshire, all playing together, and it's a real positive for the game. And it's an area I think needs pushing a little bit more, because like you said, the standard of University Rugby League is incredible, and we've also got the England University side being selected, so that's due up soon. Adam Houston, the England head coach, I'm hoping to get him on next week to discuss the England side.
Right, we've got no Super League fixtures this weekend, so it's Challenge Cup weekend, round 4 of the Challenge Cup. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but before we do, we just want to make you aware of our membership packages that we've opened up on the channel. Please, click on the join button, become a member of the channel. You can be some of the first to receive our membership shout-outs and all the other benefits as well. So check those out, and even just a couple of pennies can go a long way to making sure that we're turning out some good quality stuff and chasing the very best stories. Right, Carl, on to Challenge Cup, round 4, and this is definitely a round that you will have a keen eye on.
Yes, but there's great fixtures all the way through the Challenge Cup this week. So on to round 4 of the Challenge Cup, the fixtures are on your screen at the minute. I mean, the first one, Saints versus Leeds. Then we've got the Red Devils versus the Bradford Bulls. The Catalan Dragons side outside the Heartlands playing a very traditional side in Featherstone. Lee Leopards versus Batley, who are absolutely flying at the minute. Hull KR versus Oldham. Widnes versus Wyre. Wigan Warriors versus Hull. And the Giants are taking on Trinity. So there's some great fixtures there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is some great fixtures, and there's some championship sides that are licking their lips right now. None more so than Bradford Bulls facing an absolutely distraught Salford, which are just all over the place at the minute.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you'd have gone back a week, I'd have said Bradford have got a massive chance here of scalping another Super League side. Obviously, they beat Castleford in the third round, wasn't it, of the Challenge Cup. That was a big scalp for them. And then they've got Salford, who are sort of in a lot of disarray. However, Bradford got an absolute kicking this weekend at Toulouse. So I don't really know how to call this one now. We don't really know what the situation with Salford is. Have they been paid? Haven't they been paid? Are the players happy? I know Paul Rowley looked absolutely dejected after the game at the weekend. So it's one of them. It's really difficult to call. Who knows what you're going to get there?
The way I look at it is it's a little bit like life jackets on a plane. Right, when a plane crashes, you ain't going to fucking survive. Right. You're not surviving if you're dropping out of the air, right? However, we give you a life jacket, we teach you a little brace position, and just give you that little bit of hope. You know what I mean? And that's all you need, that little bit of hope, and that's what Bradford's got right now. Right, next one I want to pull out is Widnes versus Warrington. I don't be one of that players that throws the boot in when someone's on the ground and struggling, but Warrington had a shocker. Now, Widnes must be looking at this going, there's a chance. There's a chance.
Well, yeah, there will be, because Widnes went to Toulouse. They picked up a win at Toulouse. Widnes have been playing really well, and then Batley put the mockers on them at the weekend. So at the Foxes Biscuit Stadium, they lost to Batley this weekend. So I was looking to go into this going, right, Widnes have got every chance of making an upset here. I'm not so sure now. I don't know, but I mean, Widnes fans getting a chance to go to their neighbours and knock the big boys over, I'm sure are absolutely relishing it.
Other one that I think is a tough one to call is Huddersfield versus
Wakefield.
Yeah, Huddersfield versus Wakefield. Now, I mean, that could be anybody's game as well.
Yeah, I mean, so like Wakefield are absolute dynamite, weren't they, against Wyre at the weekend? Just love to watch them play. Free-flowing rugby. Max Jowett's on fire in his. I mean, how good are the fullbacks in Super League this year? We've got so many good fullbacks. Almost every team's got a decent fullback. Anyway, I'm going off the boil. Yeah, Wakey were brilliant at the weekend. But then we've been saying about Huddersfield, haven't we? They're getting better, they're getting better. I know they haven't picked up a win yet. 18-6 they were leading Wigan at halftime. Was there a bit of Vegas hangover in there? I don't know. But Huddersfield are certainly playing a lot better than they were last year. And they've got a win coming soon, I'm definite.
Right, okay, so one thing's for sure, the Challenge Cup this weekend is going to be brilliant. There's a couple of games that you can capture being broadcast.
We haven't even mentioned the big one, Saints v Leeds.
Yeah, well, I weren't going to mention that. It always seems like Leeds get Saints in the Cup. You know what I mean? In the last few years.
Because they do.
Yeah, and Saints have just beat them. And so I wasn't even going to mention it. I was going to maybe if I bury my head in the sand like an ostrich, maybe it won't happen, Leeds, I mean, just threw it away this weekend. They did so much well, so much good, and then just silly pressure relieving mistakes, and and it cost them. Like, and
Well, you could say exactly the same about Saints, really. I thought Saints were going to put in a big shift against Hull KR. Didn't really, did they? They were all right for periods of the game. I think Saints need a change of halfback.
I think Hull KR, I think they were surprised by Hull KR. We all expected a weakened side. And, you know, Tyrone May was back, Mikey Lewis was back. You know, there's probably a few talking points there in that game itself, but I think they took Saints by surprise. Everything seemed to click, you know, for Hull KR, and they kind of showed up Saints a bit. Yeah,
I suppose we'll dive a bit more into these fixtures in our prediction show when we make the predictions on the Challenge Cup. Sniper, just before we get into any detail on these games, if anybody wants to join the Snipers Club, what do they have to do, and where can they find you?
So you can find us. Our main account is Twitter at Snipers Club NRL. But if you go into the show notes, there'll be 2 links. If you click the link that you want to join, because we have 2 different packages, you'll help support the show, because the Rugby League Outsiders get a kickback from us for anyone that joins. And then if you DM 6 again to us after you join, we'll add 6 free days as a thank you for joining and a thank you from Rugby League Outsiders. So we had a massive weekend. I think we were up about 22 points profit. If you're into knowing sides and weaknesses and strengths and which teams can see tries to what position, we've got try maps for Super League. We've got try maps for the NRL. You can work out all the matchups, and you can really sort of build your bet builders or accumulators from that. So lots of good stuff in there, guys. And yeah, something to check out for sure.
Right, so we'll get into our NRL recap then. Sniper, which is the first game we're going to dive into?
So it's the Roosters against the Broncos. And as you guys know, the Roosters have been absolutely decimated in the off-season. You've had Luke Keary go to Catalan. He's had a bit of a nightmare. You've had Jared Warrior-Hargreaves leave. He's been okay so far, but hasn't really sort of impressed as much as we thought early in the season. And both their halves are out, including, and the hooker's out as well, Brandon Smith. So they had a very tough assignment. Most commentators were particularly negative on them early in the season, and they got completely blown out by the Broncos, who came out firing. The great thing about the Broncos this season is they've got Madge Maguire in charge, and they've got a stunning halves combo of Ben Hunt and Adam Reynolds. Yeah. And they went to town on the Roosters. Literally, it was like having a fox in the chicken coop. There were roosters everywhere. And Dom Young...
Yeah, he had a shocker, didn't he?
Dom Young, love him or hate him, I mean, some of his defending was non-existent. He was falling off tackles. I mean, he scored twice, fair enough. He didn't really look like doing anything. But he's such a liability on that right wing. And having Chad Townsend and having Brandon Smith playing alongside him hasn't really helped. So that was particularly bad. Selwyn Cobbo had a great game, scored a hat-trick. The left-hand side of the Broncos had a new partnership in Shibasaki and Gosevsky. I thought they might struggle slightly, anything but. They were awesome. And the Broncos looked on it early season, as many people predicted, under Madge Maguire. So, yeah, blowout results. But the question is this going to be a honeymoon period, or is it likely to continue?
Well, this was going to be my question, is like, you know, some people saying that early indications of form for some of the clubs, you know, based on these blowouts and that kind of thing. But is it an indication of form? And you mentioned that, you know, there were significant players missing. Do you think that when they get them players back, it's going to change? Do you think, do you think this is signs of a really strong season? What's your take?
I think that the Roosters are going to struggle this season. They just don't have the numbers. They've lost two players, Manu and Suali'i, to rugby union. Other players have moved on because, you know, they're aging. And they've lost some of their key players in the forwards as well. Terrell May has gone to the Tigers. He was excellent at the weekend. Satili Tupanua has gone to the Bulldogs. He looked an absolute juggernaut, scoring twice. And they haven't really got the bodies to back up, you know, the outs that they currently have. Lenu's got himself banned as usual. So it's going to be a long, hard season. Will they make the 8? Potentially they could put together a late run, but I wouldn't bank on it. And I'd say this is a serious period of transition for the Roosters. But the Broncos did look like the real deal. I don't know if you saw Payne Haas play. He was phenomenal. Carries, tough carries, tackle bust, literally everything. So at the moment, he looks like he's on top form. And for those statos or anoraks out there, there's a weird stat here about Payne Haas. He's Muslim, and it's currently Ramadan.
Yeah.
If you go back to the last 4 years, he scored a try. He didn't last year. If you go back to 3 previous years, he scored a try every single Ramadan. And he's normally 10-1, 12-1, that sort of thing. So we've got 2 to 3 weeks left of that. So keep your eyes peeled. It might be difficult for him against the Raiders this weekend, but he may well score a try if you like trends and that sort of thing over the next 2 or 3 weeks. So, potentially good one there. Let's see with the Broncos. Should we move on?
Yeah, let's go on to the second game, mate.
Okay, so the second game on Friday. So the West Tigers take on the Knights. Not that much to report here, guys. KPP was decent. Kaipia's full. Tonga was good. And it looks like it's going to take the Tigers a little time to gel. You had some new combinations forming. You had Luai playing with Galvin. And they're both left-side dominant halves. So if you are looking to work out which side is going to be their dominant edge, it's definitely going to be the left. Terrell May played big minutes, 65 minutes. He never got that sort of look in at the Roosters, and they look a little bit more mobile this year than they had done previously. So not much to report. Fletcher Sharp looked an absolute gun again, and his support runs coming around the back will be a really, really useful asset when he's getting ball off Mardu. So he's running support runs off Mardu, popping in the ball, and he's just carving. So keep an eye on Fletcher Sharp, guys.
Yeah,
that's about it. Bit of a bludger of a game there.
Yeah, just a quick one with the Tigers. Do you think Luai's enough to take them from a bottom of the table side right into the playoffs this year?
I'm going to use a posh word here. I'd be flabbergasted if that happened. I just couldn't possibly see it happening. It's too much too soon. These guys need time to gel.
Yeah, I think the NRL pundits...
You can't really put together a patchwork.
Yeah, they kind of said it'd be the biggest turnaround of all time in the NRL if they managed to make the A, didn't they?
Yeah, I've still got them spoon contenders. Probably them and Para are the most likely spoon contenders. And we've got a spoon bowl again to look forward to this weekend. Eels at home to the Tigers. So keep an eye on that. So not much to report there, guys.
Yeah, just going back to Kaipia's, Paul, like you said that he was decent. Like, what aspects of his game were a bit of an improvement?
Tell you what, I watched a fair bit of this game actually, and where he was really good, he was taking the ball into contact, and he was often getting his arm free and getting an offload. Right. So I don't know what his stats are, but I reckon hitting contact and getting ball into offload, I reckon his stats are right up there this week. He did really well at that.
Well, I mean, I hope he continues to improve, because we did give him a bit of a bashing the other week. So fair play. Okay, moving on then.
Moving on, the following game saw the Rabbitohs take on the Dolphins. This was the one that was moved to Sydney from Brisbane because of the cyclone. Cyclone never really happened or materialised. The betting markets were all over the place. There were rumours of numerous Dolphins being out. Rabbitohs were already slightly decimated by injuries to key players. So between trying to bet on this on the Salford game, working out what's going on with the team news, you're basically trying to trade a rumour. So we got both of them right, but it wasn't easy over the course of the week. So the Rabbitohs beat the Dolphins 16-14. The Dolphins look clunky, and I think they really missed having Bostock, their key winger. He was out, and they put Junior Tupou there that had a complete mare. They looked organised in the second half. The Rabbitohs struggled to sort of get many play the balls near the Dolphins' try line. And, I mean, it was an interesting game, but not one for the purists. Ty Monroe scored twice. He's a gun left winger. He broke his collarbone in that game, so you can add him to the casualty ward. And we saw Jermaine Esako score a couple of really good tries for the Dolphins. But it looks like, it's going to take a little bit of while for the Dolphins to gel. The hammer has looked tired or distracted for the last few weeks. no doubt he'll come good at some point, but wasn't that particularly impressed with the Dolphins. Tom Gilbert, who's come back from injury, looked good. Finifuniaki played 54 minutes on the edge for the Finns. He's recently signed from the Cowboys, rather, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to play longer minutes. Kolo Matangi was decent. Cass moved to left wing after Monroe's injury. Luke Humphreys played at halfback, and he's competing with Lewis Dodd for that halfback role. He was impressive. I did like him. He was solid, big body, played the ball really well, creative, and he looked really reliable. So I think this Lewis Dodd $700,000 deal that he's on. We said this a couple of weeks ago, guys. I think he's going to really struggle to dislodge Humphreys.
Yeah.
And Campbell Graham had his first game back for ages, but maybe you want to speak about Dodd.
Yeah, well, Dodds, he was suspended, wasn't he, this week? So he's back. He's back in contention this week. So we'll be interested to see what side Bennett picks this week and whether he's going to actually get a look in at the Rabbitohs.
I'd say it's 90% Humphreys that plays, 10% Dodd. If he's had a good game, they've had a win. He's been really reliable. He's a big body. He can tackle, defend, and create. Why change that?
Yeah,
I just don't see the point.
What was his kicking like?
Herbie played. Kicking was decent. Yeah, solid, decent. No issues, no problems. Really, really good. Herbie played. He played okay. Nothing to sort of write home about. But the issue was Junior Tupou's defence at left wing. So that's an edge to avoid for now if you see Tupou on that edge. So, that's pretty much it for that game. Narrow, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the next game that we're getting stuck into then, Sniper?
Following game saw the Dragons take on the Bulldogs. This was played at Net Strata. And the Dragons tend to be stronger at Wollongong, which is what they call the Gong.
Yeah.
And the Bulldogs came out firing. They were really, really impressive again. Really tight in defence, very difficult to make yardage against them. Solid, careful. You can see the Penrith system that Serraldo's implemented there. And, they were leading, what was the score at half-time? 16-6, quite impressively. Sitili Tupanua really stole the show there. He's the guy that we spoke about that was signed from the Roosters. Keep an eye out for him. He could be as good as Ola Kawatu or, one of the marquee second-row forwards over the course of this season. And he can play multiple positions. So if you are looking at him to have a bet or something, he's good because he gets decent game time and he can cover in the centres. So that's one to add to the black book if you don't know him already. So, that was pretty impressive.
I was just going to say, what was the full-time score?
Yeah, the full-time score was 28 points to 20 in that one. Oof. So the Dragons staged a late comeback, but the Bulldogs are probably a year and a half ahead of them in terms of development and recruitment and their processes. And I think you could see that. So the Dragons' left-hand side attack is going to be really strong though, because you've got Gutherson, Val Holmes, and Christian Tuipulotu there. So that's definitely going to be their dominant edge in terms of attack. So keep an eye for a lot of points being scored down that edge. Probably going to see Tyrell Sloan come in on the right wing this weekend because the right winger had a mare, Max Fienne. So he's probably going to be dropped.
Yeah.
Toby Couchman played 70 minutes for the Dragons, did well. His brother got an ACL injury and out for the season, Ryan Couchman. Decent game. Not much else to report, really.
Should we move on to Manly v the Cowboys then? A game I watched, I thought it was a cracking game. A great display from Manly as well.
How good was that first half?
Yeah.
What did it finish like 40-something?
42 points to 12 it finished.
Half-time.
John Bateman's first game for the Cowboys, and they got absolutely blown away. Manly looked absolutely awesome. It was so good. Cherry Evans is like aging player now, but he just run the show. And the Trebojevic brothers, both incredible. I suppose that's what you're going to say, Sniper. Sorry, mate, I've interrupted you.
No, it's okay. No, I was actually going to focus on someone else. Okay, Turbo was awesome. DCE was awesome. That right-hand side attack looks lethal.
Yeah.
Not a word we use common or loosely, but they're going to decimate teams. The player I wanted to look at was Ola Kawatu. Now, he's been brought into the leadership team for Manly this year, and he's been training his socks off. So he was pretty much undefendable, and he was defending against one of the top defensive halves in the NRL, Tom Dearden. So Ola Kawatu was frightening.
Yeah.
If Manly can work on isolating him on the 3-man, who's normally the half or the 5/8, he's going to decimate players in this form. So think of players like Cody Nikarima, Jake Avarillo, smaller halves. They're not going to get a look in. So we can definitely see Ola Kawatu scoring some tries and probably some doubles over the course of the next few weeks because he's raring to go. The other thing is you've got Burbo, who's Ben Trebojevic at left 2RF.
Yeah.
So you know that with Ola Kawatu on the right-hand side, that's definitely going to be a focal point of their attack. So look for teams with weak middles or weak edges for them to really, really hurt. As we saw with the Cowboys, it's something else.
I mean,
so yeah, Ola Kawatu was my player to watch for that.
Yeah, Dearden's one of the top players in the NRL, and he really struggled at the weekend, didn't he? I thought defensively, he struggled.
I think the tone was set really badly at the start. You had Scott Drinkwater kicking out balls on the full.
Yeah.
You had the new half, Duffy, just making error after error. And if you've got your leader kicking the ball out on the full, I mean, it just takes all the air out of the balloon so early. So it's so difficult to come back from that. Todd Payton, the coach, has been criticised. The team looks quite ragged at times, and I mean the defence on the left-hand edge was non-existent. So they've got some serious work to do. I think they will struggle. They definitely struggle away from Townsville, and until Jason Tamalolo comes back, who's their spiritual leader, the massive forward, they'll probably struggle to make enough meterage to be able to build a platform without him. So you've got to wait for JT to come back to start to see some improvement. They've got a tough game this weekend coming up as well. That is in Townsville. That's against the Sharks at home. I can see Adam Fanua-Blake doing some damage, similar to what Ola Kawatu did. If they don't shore that up now, and it's virtually impossible to shore up in a week, similar things going to happen.
It requires a change of personality at least, doesn't it? Without and then looking at the systems you're playing as well. Just looking at these blowout scores, you got the 3 blowout scores traditionally. Like, how does this affect the other, like the business end of the league?
It's very rare to see blowout scores in the first week of a season. So to have 3 is pretty much unheard of. I think the refs were trying to let the play go. A lot of these roll balls that we spoke about in the previous 2 weeks weren't there. It looks like they were trying to implement that early season, then it'll start to fade later on into the season. I think there was only 1 roll ball called throughout the entire NRL round, excluding Vegas. And yeah, it's been it's literally gone by the form book. The three blowouts that you could have predicted were the 3 blowouts.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even close. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a concern if you're a coach. You've done all this work since December in preseason. Then your team goes out and just fall apart at the seams round 1. You start questioning your methods. You start questioning your coaching staff. Have we done something wrong? Are we not doing something that other clubs are doing? Is there a mentality problem? Have we trained them too hard in preseason? Have we done too much wrestling or contact sport or contact training? What's the actual issue? So I think we will see these 3 teams that have been battered in round 1 improve next week, because it's very rare to get back-to-back blowouts. So keep an eye on them, guys. The Cowboys battered, the Eels battered, and the Roosters battered. I think the Roosters may do better than expected against the Panthers, who they face this week. So we've got one more game. Any more questions, or do you want to move on?
Last game of the week, then, wasn't it? Melbourne Storm versus the Eels. Ryan Pappenhausen had an absolute blinder. The Melbourne just looked, they looked like they've just been playing all year. straight into it in round 1. They were flying.
Yeah, who impressed you most, Carl?
Pappenhausen, with the blonde mullet guy. I thought he was great.
Jealous of his hair.
Yeah, the Brad Fash of the NRL.
yeah, 100%.
A little bit more glamorous, though.
Slightly.
Yeah. They were electric that first half. So a couple of key points to take there. We saw Xavier Coates have a blinder. They were targeting aerial balls for him. He was facing Jake Tungo, who's not the biggest. He scored a double. He could have probably scored 3 or 4 on a normal day. And then they just rinsed them through the middle. I mean, some of the defence, again, for the Eels was questionable. You had Nick Meaney hitting holes. You had Harry Grant support running as well. So they were all on form at the same time. Munster was great. Harry Grant was great. Jack Howarth was massive. He ran for over 200 metres. He should have scored, and it looked to me like the Storm was shifting the ball a lot earlier than they did last year. So keep an eye on Jack Howarth. Stefano made his debut. Stefano Utokamanu, he was okay. They didn't have many play-the-balls near the try line, so we didn't see any crash plays or anything. But they were really, really impressive. The missing link for the Storm, did you realise who that was, guys? And it's been like this a couple of seasons now. It's Nick Meaney. So he's the right centre. He's the goal kicker. He has filled in at fullback over the last few years again. His defensive stats are shocking. And you could see that they're really targeting that edge. So if you're looking for a weak point to exploit, definitely the right-hand side defensive edge. Nick Meaney, Will Warbrick. We saw the Fox score a try against them last season on the left wing. So keep an eye out for those value plays. If you're looking for try scorers, target that right-hand edge of the Storm. Rumour is he may lose his spot to Moses Leo. Moses Leo is the Union convert. I think he's currently injured, but keep an eye out for that. And the Storm were electric. It was Jerome Hughes' 150th game. He scored a try. It was Will Warbrick's 50th game. He scored a try. And, yeah, it was pretty scintillating. But I imagine Craig Bellamy would give him a little bit of a dressing down because it didn't continue into the second half. And Parramatta started to, find their groove a little bit more. Did you see Yongi play, the Parramatta fullback?
Yes, mate.
Right, he's a player to watch for sure. One of the young guns that could really impress. Similar mould to Kyo Weeks, if you like. But definitely keep an eye out because he's taken Clint Gutherson's spot. Clint Gutherson's gone to the Dragons. So impressive performances. For me, probably the player of the round, I'd have to give it to Payne Haas. He was unbelievable. Performance of the round, for me, Manly first half. That was just another level.
Yeah.
And probably the worst performance that I saw all weekend, I'm going to have to give it to Leeds against Catalan. That was a shocker. So sorry to cross over from NRL to Super League, but I've got them bottom of the list.
Yeah, they were.
It was shocking.
They threw a lot away. They definitely did. Just going back to those blowout scores, I mean, you've got to look at, if you look at like, all the losing teams scored points. They scored at least a couple of tries. Now, does that suggest that it's more of a defensive problem more than an offensive problem? No,
definitely not. What tends to happen is the refs start trying to even out the penalty counts, and they start to feel sorry for the teams that are on the back of a pasting. So possession swings, they get more play the balls, they get more attacking opportunity, and you often see that team that's losing quite badly come back late in the second half. Wigan Warriors tend to do that a bit as well. They switch off towards the end of the 10 minutes. So if it's 46-0 to Wigan, it'll end up being 46-6.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of thing that happens in NRL all the time. So you can see batting lines that are plus 50, plus 56 points. If you take those in the last 10 to 15 minutes, I reckon you'll win at least 75% of them because the rest try to balance it out a bit. So,
okay.
Yeah.
My final question.
It's not easy to find these blowouts. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so just going back to Vegas a little bit. Now, we had a very rare moment. In fact, the first time ever where Andrew Voss was commentating on a Super League game. What did you? How did that feel? You know what I mean? Did it feel strange? Did you like the fact he was commentating on that? What did you take from it?
I thought he did really well.
Agreed.
I thought it was really good. It was really refreshing. I think some of the commentary that we're unfortunate enough to get in the UK leaves a lot to be desired. So, we listen to BBC 5 Live, listen to the commentaries on there. The BBC guy that does the commentaries is poor, doesn't do his homework, isn't very knowledgeable. The budget on Sky for Rugby League is small, to say the least. So it was good to see it produced much better than it normally is. And I think it was refreshing. I was a bit concerned about the cost of a pint. Did you have any beers, Carl?
I had one or two.
How much was the beer?
Oh, it was...
Well, put it this way, he's coming to work today with a cup of soup for his lunch.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying he's skinned, but...
you were talking almost $20 for a beer.
Did you say how much?
yeah. But, you say, was it a pint or was it one of these like weird half a litre things?
Pint.
Yeah.
But if you found a local like off license, you could get a can for about 15 quid. So that's all right. You could save yourself a couple of quid. It was bloody scandalous, I'll tell you.
Okay, so maybe we'll go to the Weatherspoons in Harlem instead. That'll do the job.
Yeah.
11 a.m. on a Tuesday.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Brilliant. Well, as always, thank you very much for filling us in. Keep tracking those scores, and let's catch up again next week.
Yeah, we'll have something good in terms of a selection or a tip for you next week, guys. So, it'll be hot off the press next week. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. And, of course, like
Cheers,
we said
bye.
before, we're still running the 6 Again offer there with the Sniper Club. So hit one of the links down below. All right, make sure that you DM with 6 Again. And you can get yourself a few extra days there for free when joining the Sniper Club. So if NRL, Super League, tips and betting is your thing, that's the place to be.
And follow Rugby League Outsiders, guys, and click that subscribe button. Let's get those views up.
Cheers, mate. See you later.
Take care.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so every week we scour the news to work out what we're going to talk about in the Williams Weekly. So it's a point in which we can have a little bit of a debate, share ideas, and just talk around the point and get a little bit of depth on stuff. Now, you can't go anywhere in Rugby League right now without the subject of Salford coming up. So it's just the obvious topic for us to tackle this week.
Yeah, it's been bumbling on all season long now. Well, all off season into the start of the season. It's like we just can't. Nobody can put it to bed. Nobody knows what's going on. There's no clear chat from the governing body. The statements coming out of Salford are wishy-washy. It's just a mess, isn't it? And it's putting a real dampener on the season. What has been a great season.
Yeah, it's been a great season. Start to the season. Now, I did a bit of a deep dive on this subject, and I was like, what has actually occurred? What is the general timeline? And when I started to dig into it, it basically, you can trace it back to as far as 2013. Right, in 2013, the club that existed then went into like a CVA, a company voluntary arrangement, where basically saying, look, we're struggling to pay our bills and all this kind of stuff, and they kind of commit to operate in a certain way financially, right? Fast forward to 2016, they breached the salary cap. That had ripples that just almost crippled the club, and I think started them on that downward slide. Then they breached the commitment they'd made with their CVA, and that caused problems in 2020. 2023, we know they had the issues with the stadium ownership and all that kind of stuff. We know there's lots of uncertainty there, and it's almost built on a bed of sand in regards to the arrangement with the stadium. Fast forward then to 2025 in January, the RFL imposed some like a sustainability cap on there to try and prevent actually some of the stuff that we're experiencing now.
Yeah, but that's because they gave them a big chunk of their central funding money, didn't they?
Yeah, and they needed some kind of we can either throw that into the wind and just let all that cash go down the Swanee, or we can try and get you on a financial footing. Then in February they had the record defeat by Saints. This will become relevant, why I'm bringing this up in a minute, where they got beat by Saints in just such a horrific way. And then later in February we then got the news that they got new ownership, and there was a lot more optimism about the game. However, and I think a lot of people sort of thought, right, it's done. Let's move on.
Yeah.
It's not done. It's far from done. And what makes all this worse is that you're right. We've got silence from not just the RFL. There's a lot of fingers pointing at the RFL, but you've got silence from the investors, the club. Even the players have been really quiet. The RFL, like we've said, the local council in Salford, everybody's been quiet. And the issue with that is that if you don't know, if you're not given information, people start to hallucinate. They start to come up with their own ideas of what's going on.
Well, you've only got to look at the press this week, and some people are saying, some journalists are saying, right, the players have been paid, but they've been paid by the RFL. And then you got another journalist who'll come out and say, no, that's not true. It's not the RFL that have paid them. And then the RFL are saying no comment. So we don't know where we're at with it. And like you say, if you don't have any answers, people just start making shit up, don't they? It's just not a. I feel for the players in all this. They're the ones not just the players, the staff as well. Because surely I don't know if they're getting more information than we are and the press are, but it feels like we're just not going anywhere with it at the minute. And I suppose the big issue is. The cap was lifted because these new owners had come in. But all of a sudden, the cap's back now. So who verified that purchase? That's the big mistake in all of this.
Well, some of the news I saw was that they were having trouble getting the money into the club, with like anti-fraud restrictions and all this kind of thing. And on a much, much, much smaller basis. I've experienced that in my own business and what have you, know what I mean? So it does exist, especially if this, the guy heading up the consortium, Dario Berta, is a Swiss banker. I don't know if there's like anti-money laundering restrictions that is go anyway. So this is kind of what some of the problems have been sort of put down to. You talk about like what happens now. Where do we go from here? Let's look at IMG, right? So IMG gradings. Don't forget that Salford got the lowest score this year in the Super League team. Okay, they got a grade B. They put them in 12th place, right? And so they had the lowest score. Now, if we look at the 5 aspects of what those IMG gradings, are graded on, you've got your fandom worth 5 points, on-field performance 5 points, finance 4.5 points, stadium 3 points, and then community 2.5 points. Look at fandom. Are these record defeats by Saints and the like going to increase the amount of bums on seats?
No, 100%. That it's massively damaging. Yeah, even the die-hard Salford fans are sort of now they're feeling a bit dejected with the situation.
Add on to the fact that they're then not getting told anything. Is that going to put bums on seats?
No.
Does that nurture loyalty and give them a story to get behind? Let's go for it. No, they're just in the dark. It's definitely going to affect fandom. On-field performance, right? Well, I'll tell you now, they aren't picking up any bonus points, right?
No.
And you've got to look at like the drop in this performance now. Record defeats, like 100% you're going to be bottom of the pecking order in terms of your points for on-field performance. Of a possible 5 points, I don't know what they're going to get, but it's definitely going to affect them. Finance, right? In terms of like profitability, right? They're not even scraping the bases, like, you know what I mean? You've got.
I mean, you can get points, can't you, for owner investment? So if they do have a load of money invested into the club, I suppose they will pick up points there. But
no, they'll pick up fractions of points.
Yeah, true.
And that's what it boils down to. It's like fractions of points. My main point there is that we're 3 categories into the IMG gradings, and they're getting smashed already, and they're already 12th in the table. Next one, stadium. Still no real stable decision about what's going on there. No news coming out of the council. We've got no idea what the arrangement's going to be. That then affects the fact that the other stuff, the other streams of revenue and all this kind of thing, they just can't do it. So that one's going to be affected. And then community, right? There's ill feeling in that community now, right? And a lot of it stems down to the fact that they have remained silent throughout. Now, I don't know who's been protected. I don't know who's been, you know what I mean? I don't know what's happening there, but they obviously think that the party line of no news is good news, but that ain't washing. So looking at all 5 categories there, the IMG gradings, they're not getting made up to an A.
So basically, what we're saying is Salford aren't going to be in Super League next year. There's a door open. Enter Toulouse, Bradford, York, whoever.
Well, I hope not, and I tell you why. So I've estimated there's 3 courses of action.
Well, hang on a minute. You've just gone through all those IMG points and said that they're not picking up any points here. They're not going to pick up any points here. They're not going to be in Super League next year, are they?
They could be.
No, no.
They could be, and I'll tell you. Let me explain why.
So you expect a bloody miracle?
Yes. 3 courses of action. First course of action is Dario Berta comes in with his Swiss banking mates, and they basically write an open check and say every crocodile that's approaching this boat right now, financially fix it, right? Recruit heavy, retain heavy, get this club stable, right? Now that's going to take masses of money, no amount of money, but it is possible. Right, it's the old, it's the old life jacket on an airplane situation. Okay, now there'll be people out there going, Salford, fuck it doesn't matter. Right, Salford does matter because it's regularly a central club in the league. It bridges that barrier between bottom of the table, top of the table, and we need those middle clubs. We need them to be competitive in the league.
They're playing entertaining style of rugby. They do have a decent stadium. God knows who owns it, but we get into that. But yeah, Salford bring a lot of value to the Super League. I agree. I don't care what you're saying though. They ain't going to be in Super League next year. Well, mate, no chance. Like, you can say they've got this Swiss banker coming in, who's going to throw a load of cash at them, and they're going to buy all these players. Not happening.
But I don't think we have the luxury of thinking like that. I think we've got to, like, you know, what I'm saying is, like, this: he's got to come in, spend heavy, retain well, to keep Salford in the league. They've got to, and hope that they haven't done enough lasting damage that they are just doomed.
Yeah, true. I mean, Brian Carney he said basically what you've been saying, didn't he, about the radio silence. I watched Sky Sports this week, and he really went in on Salford this week, and it was unlike Brian Carney. I don't know if he went rogue. I don't know if there was like somebody in his ear going, shut up. But he went rogue, and he just dived in, and I think he pretty much echoed what you've been saying, really.
Yeah, and the interesting thing there was obviously John Wilkin then played the role of the pacifier, you know what I mean? No, the RFL this, the RFL that. But I picked up something on that interview. When I was looking at it, looking at his body language, he put himself, as soon as he started talking about the RFL, he put himself in almost a position of weakness, like as if he was like covering himself up, indicated by, the crossed feet. When you look at the image that's on the screen now, that's like very much I'm not entirely sure about what I'm saying. Or it can be, I know something and I'm not giving it up. You know what I mean? But he had a very closed position. Now, I watch stuff like this all the time, and John Wilkin usually has quite a powerful stance. He likes to put himself with presence.
Yeah,
he's a relaxed demeanour on screen as well.
Yeah, he's always he usually is the one that's like almost saying like what Brian Carney says. John Wilkin ain't afraid to throw a team under the bus or say how he thinks it's meant to be, but it was complete opposite, wasn't it? Like, it's usually Brian Carney who's like he's a bit more professional and trying to give both sides of the opinion. It was like the other way around this time. Brian Carney was like, right, this is ridiculous, it's radio silence from everybody, the fans have had enough, and yeah, John Wilkin played the opposite role. I did notice that this weekend.
And that's why our ears pricked up, because it's the absence of the normal and the presence of the abnormal, and when you watch that interview, eventually Jodie Cunningham relieves the pressure. She takes the pressure off this conversation between Brian Carney and John Wilkin. Anyway, so getting caught. Other courses of action that I was talking about. The second course of action is that they come with a moderate amount of investment. They manage to retain some of their players. They're not competitive in the Super League, but they still manage to keep, in that 12th spot, and somehow they manage to maintain enough points to stay in the Super League and perhaps struggle for the next 3 to 5 years. And then the other course of action, which you're saying, this is the most likely course of action, is that none of this works out. They plummet into the depths of the Championship, possibly even further than that in the future, because such is the damage that can be done right now, and that'd be a sad day for Super League.
Yeah, but look at it from a player's perspective at the minute. If your agent's looking for you for a new club next year, at this moment in time, are you going to want to go to Salford? No. If you're already playing for Salford and you haven't been paid and you've been messed around financially, you're not extending your contract there next year. So yeah, something drastic needs to happen for them to survive, and I don't think they'll be in Super League next year. That's my opinion. I think the damage is probably already been done.
And I agree. But I just think it would be such a shame.
Playing devil's advocate.
No, I'm not playing. I genuinely think we need these clubs central of the table that bridges the gap between the top of the table, the bottom of the table. If not, your Wigan, Warrington, Saints, they're just going to keep going, and the gap is going to get too big, and we lose this competitive league that we've got.
But then I think it's showing a little bit of disrespect to some of the sides in the Championship who have got their finances in order, like Toulouse, for example, would be a great addition back into Super League.
Would it?
Yeah.
Well, with the problems that Catalan are having this year, they've got to pay their own, all the travel and all that. Do you think Toulouse would be? It's like 2 trips to France. Do you think some of the lower, the clubs that have got less money can sustain that better? You know what I mean?
Well, you've opened a complete separate debate.
No,
there.
You opened up the debate.
Yeah.
I'm just the pros, and I don't think Toulouse. I don't think it's a dead cert they'd strengthen the league. You're right in that there's other teams there that are ready to step in. It hurts my heart to say the Bulls. You know what I mean? Bring forward the Bulls, but Batley's, yeah.
Batley,
potentially.
No, Batley. I don't think Batley'd want Super League, but they're doing really well in the table at the minute.
Right. Well, I don't know what the answer is, but like I said, we've put some meat on the bones, and what I am keen to hear is other people's take on it, and more than just it's a disgrace, get them out of the league and all that. I don't think that's the kind of way to address this, and I do sort of invite the governing body, the club itself, the local council, the new owners, just to give us a narrative to get behind, because it's missing at the minute. I don't know whether they're treating it as like it's a doomed cause. We've hit the iceberg, we're going down, and just let it sink. But that'd be a real shame.
Yeah. My phone's always available if anybody wants to ring me. Right, last...
Why don't you share your phone number on here, Calvin?
Oh, yeah. Mate, we've already started a miniature riot on between the Hull KR and the Hull FC fans with the video we did last week, so there's no chance of opening my phone number to everybody now.
Right, if the video Cal's talking about, we had... access all areas to the MKM Stadium in Hull. Go and check that video out if you haven't watched it already, and get a bit of an insight into the match day experience. And Cal, anything to finish with?
Yeah, we've got our predictions episode also coming out this week, and I've got loads of bits and bobs from Vegas, little interviews with Canada Rugby League, Greece Rugby League, USA Rugby League, extended interviews. They're all just dropping out on the channel all week, so yeah, check them out.
Until next time, take care.